So when people ask me, well, you know, like, is the market going to fall even further? Absolutely it is. It has to. All right, everybody. So what does it feel, or what is the prediction for Canadian real estate moving forward? Yes, it's $1 million question. I don't know the exact answers, but we can talk about it. Let's just discuss it. Let's just see what might happen. We already know what happened, and it is done. However, it will impact you. Whatever you did in the past, an ongoing process will impact what happens in the future. Will we continue trading in real estate? 100%. Everything is moving, everything is sellable, everything can be bought. However, how will it move? And are you really stuck? That's the $1 million question. If you're hoping for some odd reason that magically we will see that gain, that boom, that increase, that need for real estate market to skyrocket again, please think again, because it will not happen. I keep saying that for a long time. If you go back to my videos, you will see that I was even saying it months ago, even years ago. I was saying it like, this cannot be an easy fix. It is not something that you just fix with a band-aid. It requires much more moving parts in order for us to see that stable, that confidence, the buyer's confidence, which is huge. So let's talk about that. Most people, they already have a flat tire. So imagine you have a flat tire on your car and you just change the radio station. It's not gonna help you, right? But okay, you're listening to a different genre of music, but it didn't do anything. You still have a flat tire, right? So you have to look at the situation properly, and you have to estimate what is the exit strategy for you. So many people held on to their properties, held on to their investments, pre-construction units, condos, you name it, right? Like hoping, like, look, just few more months, things will change. Few more months, you know, that interest rate will feather down a little bit more, and it will increase that demand. However, in this case, it doesn't work like that. We cannot underestimate interest rates, the power of interest rates. But this time, as many you guys would like to say, it's different, and it is, because the debt ratio of everything, it's through the roof. The mortgage debt, car loan debt, student, visa, everything is maxed out because everybody is waiting for that hit, because they want to exit at the right time, collect the maximum amount, give their problems to somebody else, and just be free. Well, it doesn't really work like that. Like, nothing is free, and it will cost you. So you have to come to terms, whether you like it or not. You would have to come to terms. You have to evaluate the situation and say, look, if I'm in the situation that I can somehow exit and still have some equity, God bless you, you're lucky. Most people don't have that luxury. Believe me, most people are stuck. They're over leveraged, right? So, and even they're calling these shots, right? So getting back to the debt ratios and all that stuff, right? Like the demand is off the table. Unfortunately, it is off the table. And the reason for that is basically that the inventory keeps rising, but the demand keeps even shrinking even longer. So that's why the March of 2025 was the worst month recorded ever. And we have two past recordings, right? In 2009 was one, and the other one was in the pandemic, right? Which is a different situation, but affected the market in that meantime. So now everything seems to be fine. Everything is unlocked and everything is ongoing. But however, the demand shrunk, right? And people are scared, believe me. When I speak to people, like they're frightened. They don't know what to do next, right? if they're renting, they're like, okay, I don't want to rent anymore. But then if I buy, I don't want to be tied up. And then if I'm trying to kind of do the mathematical equation, right? It doesn't make sense. Like, they're renting this house for $3,500 a month. And in order for them to put 20% down on the same identical home in that neighborhood, putting 20% down, having a mortgage would cost them 3 times more. So how is that a normal or a enticing market? Like you don't wish to wake up and say, well, I'm gonna pay more because I'm gonna be an owner. Like, I get that, like where you're deciding between renting and paying somebody else's mortgage and you owning, paying a premium more, but I get it. Pride, like you wanna own, like you wanna, like you wanna pay off that mortgage one way or another, whatever, in a decade, 2, 3, 5, doesn't matter. But like, see, this is the problem, right? So, and then on top of that, most people cannot even get approved, right? Like, they walk into a bank and they're like, oh my gosh, are you a six-figure earner? Like, do you make more than $100,000? Yes, no debt, no car loans, no nothing. And then you get like, you get barely a mortgage amount of $350,000 to $400,000. Are you kidding me right now? Right? Like, that's top earner in Toronto GTA. I'm talking a good job, right? So even if you have 2 people riding more than 6-figure incomes, they're still underwater. Like, what can you buy for $700,000-$800,000? Nothing, unless they have a hefty down payment, which most people don't, and then they have to get into family affairs. And if their families or mothers or fathers or uncles, whatever, are wealthier or they have some equity, now they have to bury them basically in order to buy something and bury themselves, but because it's going to cost them like 3 to 4 times more to carry something that doesn't even make sense. So when people ask me, well, like, is the market going to fall even further? Absolutely it is. It has to, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all to move forward, right? So, like, I don't know, it is sad, right? Like, we went through that spike, obviously, in the market, and it was FOMO driven, and it was driven by all kinds of different factors and all of that stuff, low interest rates. And I know some people even now, like, like they have to renew, right? Like 1.2 million people will renew in Canada. That's a hefty number, right? Some people will be impacted less than others, right? Obviously based on their mortgage amount, but this is not a joke, man. Like, if your neighbor is sinking, automatically you're sinking, right? Because that will adjust your price in that neighborhood for the same equivalent property, market value or whatever, right? So those are the things you have to take into consideration, you know what I mean? Like, you have to look at the market like that, I guess, right? And then everything else that has been going on, like, I mean, it's just crazy. People are frightened. And another thing that's extremely interesting that nobody is talking about, that are your neighbors and your close friends and people around you, right? Because everybody wants to look good, and I don't blame them. No problem in that. But you're not finding the truth, right? I was with a friend of mine on the street, and we were talking, and he points to a house across the street. And I say, yeah, well, what's wrong? I mean, beautiful, no problems. I mean, like, the house is stunning, stucco, stone, glass, modern, beautiful. And he's like, he started going into the whole scenario, what this family is going through with trigger rates and bank rates and all the loans, and they have to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket, and they have a tenant and they're hoping that the tenant continues paying. Because I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, they paid for years. They were topping up for years and years on top of the tenant's rent. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me right now? And plus the trigger rate hit, and the trigger rate, like, you know, the bank wants that amount to be topped on top of the mortgage, because if you don't do that, you basically go under and it's a bankruptcy, right? Straight up. So I'm like, so why aren't they selling? I mean, like, take your loss now. I mean, like, you're bleeding slowly, right? Like, so just cut the fat. Come on, you know, it's a good area and they're hoping, you know, next year and this year. I'm like, they're already out hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, I don't even know how they got this far, right? And he looked at me, he's like, well, you know how, more death against that property and maybe other properties, right? So let's just take that into consideration. And you know what, sit down. Like, you don't have to be stressed, even if you are, but sit down, try to calculate properly what needs to be done, and just give yourself different scenarios. One, okay, if it goes up by 5%, what will I do? If it goes down by 5%, where am I standing? What will I do? And so on, until you actually get to a conclusion and to a proper conscious decision what you should do. I mean, it is very important, because some of you guys, and I speak to many families, right, on weekly basis, some of you guys are on the exit, right? And exit meaning, you know, you guys want to retire and you want to move out of the country, you want to stay in the country, you have to downsize, whatever. Most of the people can't stay in the country, unfortunately, because their retirement fund doesn't cover the current lifestyle, if that makes sense, right? So that is something that I hear more and more. People worked for decades and they said, we cannot stay here. Now, they have a plan B country that they can move to or whatever, right? But even that is getting more and more difficult, right? Like, because they have grandchildren and kids and all that stuff, they have to stay, and they're evaluating that. So I think you should evaluate everything properly and come to a conclusion and make sure you do the right thing for yourself and for your family. So I hope you got some value out of this video. So please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.